Okay. So in the last session, we discussed about what is Oracle, what does it mean by application, and what are the different product families we have. We discussed out of the different product families. One of the product families, financials. What does it mean by cloud? We discussed fusion. We discussed what is the meaning of cloud. These points also we discussed. As a part of cloud, we discussed there are three options. Okay, as a SaaS, PaaS, IaaS for every client. The most of the clients are using the SaaS. Few clients whose business process need to be customized, they are going with the PaaS. IaaS is just storage space. No applications will get within this from Oracle. These are the points we discussed. So before we proceed further, let's talk about timings, whatever we discussed in yesterday's session also, since there is some query. So this course duration, the tentative schedule is 2 months. Okay, the tentative schedule is 2 months, but it may go up to 3 months also. Okay, the tentative schedule is 2 months. You can say 2 to 3 months will complete this course. And the timings as of now, we are starting the batch at 8 a.m. IST. Maybe after 1 month or 45 days, we'll prepone these timings to 6 a.m. IST. Check your time availability to attend these classes. So this is how the timings we are going to follow. So now 8 a.m. IST we are starting. We'll start by 8 and we'll end by 9:30. Sharp 9:30 we'll stop the session. And going forward, maybe after 30 days or 45 days, we'll prepone the timings from 6 a.m. IST to 8 a.m. IST to 6 a.m. IST. Once we switch the timings, we'll run the sessions from 6 a.m. IST to 7:30 a.m. IST. These are the timings which we are going to follow. Okay, now let's jump into the actual discussions. So in today's session,
you said you'll start at 7:30 a.m.
8 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. I'm sorry if I said like 7. Okay, 6 o'clock, sorry. 6 a.m. IST. We are going to prepone to 6 a.m. We'll end the session by 7:30 a.m. 6 will start, will end by 7:30. That happens after 1 month or 45 days onwards. As of now, 8:38 we are going to start and we'll end the session by 9:30. Done. So in today's session, we'll see how to create the user. Okay, we'll try to do few tasks directly on the application. After completing that, again, we'll discuss few points theoretically before we proceed with actual business process or anything else. Okay, let's talk about user today. So what are the product you get from the Oracle? Okay, what are the product you get from the Oracle? Like if you are going to do the implementation for your client, so Oracle will provide the software access. Within that, we'll have a different applications and all. So wherever we have all the applications, financials, SCM, HCM, everything, those all we call as instance. That you can call as pod also, POD pod, like iPod. The cloud instances you can call as a pod or simply you can call as instance. Okay, if you want to work on these applications, you need to get access for instance from Oracle. Cloud instance access you have to get, or else cloud instance you can call as a pod. So when you get access from Oracle, Oracle will provide one username and password. You can connect to that instance and you can proceed with the implementation. But reality, what we do is, what are the user credentials we get from the Oracle for specific instance? We generally create our own user. We'll start any setups or anything from our user only. Oracle will provide one user. Okay, with that user we can log in and we can create our own user and we can proceed with the setups or rest of implementation process. So when we are going to create our own user, what level of privileges user required, those points we have to understand. Let's talk about those points. So for example, we are going to create one user called as ERP3. When you create a user called as ERP3, if you want to do the implementation, okay, if you want to do the implementation for any company, what privileges this user is required within the instance. Okay, within the instance, to get access to all the applications, to do any sort of setups or to perform any sort of activity like admin privileges, what privileges this user is required. If you talk about, primarily this user required access to two roles. Okay, users can have access to the applications, any application, with the help of roles. We call as roles. As per EBS, those are menus. If you are from EBS background, so in EBS we use the menus concept. Menu consists of submenus and functions. In Fusion, equal to menus, we have a roles. We have a roles. Okay, roles only will provide the access to user. Say for example, we have user 1. The user 1 wants to work on payables. Now we have to assign the payable related roles to payables user. The user who is working on the receivables application, for that user you have to assign the receivables related roles. Which user is working for which application, accordingly you have to assign the role. But when you talk about implementation consultant, if you are going to work as implementation consultant, you need access to two roles. Those roles are application implementation consultant role. The other role is IT security manager. Okay, these two roles we have to assign to the user. Okay, these two roles we have to assign to the user so that that user will be able to involve in the implementation related activities. What is the purpose of this role? Okay, application implementation consultant role. What is the use of this application implementation consultant role? So if you assign this application implementation consultant role, that user will get connected to FSM. Okay, FSM. What does it mean by FSM? FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. With the help of Functional Setup Manager, what we can do? We can do the setups. As per business requirement, we can do the setup. The same setups we can call as configuration also. We call as setups or configuration. So if you are going to work as a implementation consultant, we need access to application implementation consultant role. If you get access to application implementation consultant role, you will get access to FSM. With the help of FSM, you can do the setups. If you have access to IT security manager role, you can get access to security console. Why we have to get the access to security console? Within the security console only you can create the users and you can assign roles to users and you can create new roles also. Custom roles we call. Those points we'll discuss later. Now not required. But now simple point what we have to understand is, if you are going to work as an implementation consultant for any project, we need user access. That user should have access to basic two roles. Those are application implementation consultant, other one is IT security manager. With the help of application implementation consultant, you can do setups with the help of FSM. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. And along with this application implementation consultant, we need access to IT security manager that will give you the access to security console. If you get access to security console, you can create many users as business required and which user required access to which application related roles, those roles also you can assign to the user. So along with these roles, there are different type of roles also. We have to wait for some time to understand. For now, let's not get into the type of roles. So just take the simple point as these two roles we have to assign to the user. Maybe after a few classes, I'll introduce the type of roles, why they classified, how those works in the system environment. We'll discuss more detail level. Okay. Now this is a simple point we have to understand. When you are working for any implementation project, Oracle will provide the one default user, one user they will create. It's not like default, they'll create one user for every client they'll provide. With that user also you can do the implementation, but generally we create our own user. when you create our own user, we have to assign these two roles so that these two roles will give the access to do the setups and to create the new users and to assign the roles to those users. This is a simple point we have to understand. Now, if you are okay with this or if you have any questions, please. If no questions, we'll proceed and see how to create the user in the system. Any questions from anyone on this point, please?
How many new users we can create?
A number of, there is no limit. And
Okay.
other important point is, for how many users Oracle is, the client is taking the subscription from Oracle, those many users only we have to create. That client will inform us. Okay.
Okay.
For financial, say they have a team of 50 members. Maybe for payables, 10 members, receivables, 10 members, assets, 5 members, for other areas, other users, total 50 members license they taken. So in that case, we'll create 50 users only. System will allow to create more than that, but when Oracle will conduct the audit, they'll find out and they'll find it as a violation. They have a subscription or say license for 50, but they have more than that. That will become issue.
So all 50 will get the same access to this application, and
Not
they
same
can.
Not same access. They are working for which area, accordingly they'll get access. If the user is working
Okay.
for payables, they need payables access. If you give the receivables access, no use for that user, right? So as per their profile, as per their responsibility, or as per their role in the company, accordingly users will get access to application. Yep. Any other questions, please?
Yeah, sure. These roles like application implementation consultant as well as IT security manager, we can get assigned both these roles to one user. Is it possible?
Yeah. I'm talking about the same. Both roles minimum we have to assign to our user. These two are minimum roles to work as a consultant. Two we assign to one user.
Yesterday you said something about subscription based, like not the license based.
Correct.
Inside. So how does it is applicable here now? You said 50 users.
It is applicable on what base means you have to follow that the subscription terms and conditions. If you take the subscription for 50 users, you should know how many users you have to create. You take in the subscription for 50. If you try to create more than 50, system won't stop you. They don't put any, just check in the system when you are creating. But after creating, Oracle can conduct the audit. When they conduct the audit, if they find out you have a more than 50 users, that will become issue. Here, when you are creating, there is no point where system will verify. We should know what to do, what not to do. That's it.
So what about if we have a 50 concurrent users only, not more than 50 concurrent users?
Yeah. Tell me what is.
So we
have 50 concurrent users. What is your question?
So if I say I take a license for 50 concurrent users, so no more than 50 users will log in, but I can create 100 users, yes?
Yeah, you can create, but you should not, because you take in the subscription for only 50. That is a fundamental point.
Okay.
You should not. You take it.
So it's a user license.
Sorry, please go ahead.
So it is user license based, number of user based, not
application wise. Again, application and user base and duration. These are three elements. For how much duration, for which application, how many users, we have to take the subscription. That's all.
Yeah, Lakshman, one more doubt. This is Anil Kumar.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is a functional setup manager user, and we can create every AP module users and AR module users. This 50 members limitation.
Yeah. At the time of implementation, you create one user. Okay, that user need access to this. Reality, your payables users, the employees who are working for payables, receivables application, they don't need access to these roles. This is only for consultant.
Okay.
That's what we are discussing. If you want to create invoices, if you want to process the payments in the payables, if you want to create the suppliers, for that we have a different roles. Those roles will assign to employees who are working in the company. Now we are consultant. When we are working as a consultant for any project, user required access to which roles. That is the point we are trying to understand. So that part,
Okay. But
we'll get into that very soon. Once we are ready with the setups, how to deal with those cases, we'll understand. We'll discuss and we'll work on the system.
okay. My doubt is like user creations, security console through we can create that users and the role assigned to users. So
Correct.
this is the 50 people we can subscribe.
Correct. Yes, exactly. There are multiple ways to
Okay.
users. You will understand very soon. Okay. If I explain all this, it will become confusion. Let's focus on this point. Who are going to work as implementation consultant? That user require access to these two roles so that they will be able to work as a consultant. They can do any setups. They can create new users and they can assign the roles to other users. That is a point here we require.
Okay. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Yeah. Thanks. Any other questions from anyone, please?
So as an employee of the company, you don't get access to this as an application implementation consultant?
Exactly.
Well, what is the difference? Why they made a difference between a consultant and employee of the company to get the access different roles?
Yeah, consultant is the one who do the solution for the entire business through system, and consultant require full privileges to manage anything to fix the issues. So as a consultant, I can get access to entire financials, but you are working for payables department, you need access to only invoice creation process. So for you, you will get access only invoice creation page. You don't get access to anything. As a consultant, we should be able to verify something if any issues users are facing, and we should have a total control on the system, since we are the one who who do the implementation and who takes care of the support related issues, etc. And one more point, you may be employee in the organization, you are IT manager in your company, okay, or finance head. So in that case, if you, as a company, if you say, I need access to everything, yes, you will get access. But the person who is working for just payables as an end user, if they says I need full access, yes, the company policies don't allow them to have access.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. Any other questions here, please? Anyone, maybe after the question, they can go on mute. I could see if you guys are not going on mute. Okay, please. Thank you. Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, let's see how to create the user. I'm going to use one user where already these two roles are assigned, and so that we'll be able to access to the security console. We can create our own user. We can assign these two roles. Then we'll verify. Okay, how FSM looks like, how security console looks like. Those all points will come to know. Let's see how to create the new user in the system. Okay, when you are going to practice, I will provide you one instance. Okay, with user credentials. I'll just share username and password. With that user, you can log into the instance, and you can create your own user by following the whatever the points we are going to discuss now. Yeah, done. So this is the cloud instance. Okay, we will share you the instance for your practice. When you share the instance, we'll provide you the login credentials. You can log into the instance, and you can follow the same process which we are going to discuss and do in the system now. Okay, so this is a cloud instance. You can connect to this instance from any device. The device which is connected with the internet, from any device you can connect to this. It could be your smartphone or iPad or any device you can connect. No additional plugins are required. So it's a completely web-based application. Any question, please? Otherwise, please go on mute. I think somebody, Narayan, would see.
Actually, I'm not able to mute it. I don't know why.
Okay. Fine. I'm doing that then. Fine, done. Okay. So now I'll log into the instance with on predefined user. For your practice also, we'll share the different user credentials. You can do that. I'm going to use the user called as fa.student. Provide password. Sign in. Okay. So log into the instance.
So this is the user you're talking about.
No, I'm just using one user to log in. Okay. But Oracle will provide the different name. When you're working for your client, they can create maybe with your company name, or else they can create with some string, anything. Okay. Fine. So I'll share one
This is a
user. I'm using this
user-defined
FA.
user.
Sorry.
Hello, Lakshman. This is a user-defined user. I mean, created by you, sir. FA student.
Yeah, I created
Or
already. This user already I
okay.
created. I'm using. For your
Yeah.
practice also, I'll provide one user. With that user, you can log in and you can create your own user.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now we'll see how to create the user once you connect to the instance. Okay, we connected to the instance with one user. Now, if you want to create our own user, here left side on the top of the corner, you could see bar icons. Okay, the bar icon. Here, what you can see here vision. This is a logo. You can keep any logo here. Okay, Oracle is keeping one logo as a vision. Okay, since they are providing some sample data with the company name called as vision. This is just logo. Reality, when we are working for our client, so here the company logo will be placed. Very simply, we can change this logo. I'll show you that also later. But now our focus is user creation. Once you connect to the instance, here you can click on this bar icon. Okay, click on this bar icon. It will open on panel. Within this panel, go to tools. Okay, here you can find the tools. Here tools is not displaying. Click on more. By default, it will display. Since this user got access to many privileges, few privileges are hidden. So now what we can do is click on more. Directly it will display in this navigator. If it is not displaying, you can click on more. Now you can see tools section. Under tools, click on security console. When you see security console, what do you think? Do you think this FA.student user got access to IT security manager role? Yes. The FA.student user got access to IT security. Any user have access to IT security manager, those users only can connect to security console. Now click on security console. Please go on mute. Okay, see, let me explain few points. If you have any questions, I'll take your questions. Okay. I'll just explain few points, then I'll stop and I'll wait for your questions. Maybe every 5 minutes once, I'll stop and I'll take your questions. So how we are navigating? Okay, once again, we'll log into the instance and we'll redo this. I'm going to sign out, click on the username, sign out, confirm the sign out. Okay, connect to the instance with the user credentials, fa.student. Okay, log into cloud instance. Now click on this bar icon. So look for this tools section. Here directly system is not displaying. And what we have to do is, if it is not displaying directly, click on more. It will display tools within the navigator itself. Here you could see tools. Under tools, here whatever you see, everything we call as a task. T-A-S-K, task. Under tools, we have one task called as security console. Already we discussed. From security console, you can create the user, right? If you assign the role called as IT security manager, that role will give the access to security console. From security console, you can create the users and you can assign the roles to that user. Now the current user, whatever we are using, that user got access to IT security manager role. That is the reason from that user we are able to see security console. From this user, we are able to see security console. The reason this user got access to IT security manager role. Click on more. Click on security console. Click on security console. Now we are in the security console page. Why we are here? To create the user. To create the user, select users. Okay, select users and click on add user account. We are going to create the new user. Click on add user account. Click on add user account. Okay, here the user creation is very simple. The user association is with employee and all, that is a different user type. Those we'll discuss very soon. Now, whatever the user we are creating, this user we call as implementation user. The user whatever we are creating, that we call as implementation user. The reason is, when you are going to do the implementation, the user whatever you can create, that is implementation user only. We cannot create employee users. We have other type of users called as employee users. Why we cannot create now, when we can create, all those points we'll discuss very soon. Now the user whatever you are creating, that we call as implementation user. You can provide the first name, last name, email ID, just all these you can provide, or else you can proceed with only which is mandatory. Say last name. Say user last name, just I'm giving as ERP3. Provide some mail ID. Just giving some mail ID. And system is taking the email ID as a username. What you can do is override the username. I want to have username as ERP3 and set the password. You have to provide the password and you have to confirm the password. When you talk about password, here you could see the password policy. Place the cursor on the I information icon. It says when you set the password policy is at least 8 characters, including one number within that. So this is a password policy we have to follow. Okay, we'll set the password. So let me set some password. Now you can say save and close. If you click on save and close, user will be ready. But for the user, we have to assign the roles: application implementation consultant and IT security manager. Those roles you can assign from here, but we'll assign later. First we'll create the user, then we'll proceed with the roles assignment. Okay, provide name and provide email ID and username and provide password and confirm the same. Say save and close. Now user account would be ready. Okay, we created user. If you log into the instance with this user, you cannot do anything because no roles are assigned to this user. Okay, no activity you can do. So if any user wants to perform anything on this instance, the user required access to roles. Now we'll go and assign the roles. During the user creation also you can assign the roles, but we didn't assign. Now we'll go and assign the roles. So under user section, find out our user. What is the user we created? Username is ERP3.
ERP3.
Any question?
No, you have asked what is the user you have created. So I said ERP3, the username I mentioned.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, fine. Just click on search. Okay, this is the user which we created. You can see the display name ERP3, username is ERP3, and email ID is this. And the status of this user is active. The user account is not locked. Locked, no. And against this user record, you can perform various actions. Click on these actions. You can lock the account. If you don't want to allow this user to log into the instance, you can lock that account. Okay, account will remain, but user cannot log in since we are going to lock. If you want to reset the password for this user, yes, you can do it. If you want to delete this user, yes, you can delete at any point of time. Virtually system will delete this user, but if this user is going to perform any transactions, if user is going to create something, so which user created those transactions or setups, everything, those will remain as this. As a record, it will be deleted. That is a virtual deletion. So these are the points we have to understand. So let's see how to reset the password for this user. Just click on reset password. If you want to change the password, select manually change the password and you can set the password. And say,
hey Lakshman, in case of automatically generate password,
yeah, automatically if you need password, what happens is you have to provide the valid email ID, then system will send you one link to that email ID to reset the password.
okay.
Yeah. Right. So that's how you just please go.
I have one question. Lakshman.
So just one more question, Lakshman.
No. If you don't mind, give me 2 more minutes. I'll explain few points. Okay, then we'll do the questions. Yeah, I'll stop. I'll stop to take your questions. Just maybe give me 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, let me complete few points. Okay. So after completing that, we can proceed with the question so that we can have good amount of questions also. And this is how just user you can see. You can reset the password from here. Just click on actions. Just now we have seen. You can reset. If you want to log that account, click on log. This all log status will turn into yes. If you want to delete, you can delete. But when you are practicing, please don't delete any users. If you create your own user, if you want to log for testing purpose, you can do it, but don't delete any users which we are sharing or which are created by someone else for their practice. Okay, don't touch that function called as delete. Now I'm going to click on the username. You can click on the username or you can click on the display name. Okay, it will take us to user creation page. I'm clicking on username. Click on username. Okay, this is a user record which we created. And if you want to assign any role, see here roles. Okay, no roles are assigned to this user. We'll assign the roles to this user and we'll proceed with the questions if you have anything. Okay. So now which roles we have to assign? Already we discussed. These two are primary roles for every consultant. Otherwise, we cannot work as a consultant. These two roles only will give the full privileges. Okay, let's assign the roles to this user. So how to assign? Click on edit. Just click on edit. Now system is enabling one tab called as add role. Click on add role. Which roles we have to assign? Application implementation consultant. I'm just typing as application implementation. I'm just typing as application implementation. The system is showing the many roles. What it is showing? Application implementation administrator. Again, it is showing application implementation administrator. What is the difference between these two? There is no difference, but there is difference in the role code. The role name same. Role name is application implementation administrator, application implementation administrator. But in these two roles, the code is different. This is starting with ASM. This is starting with ORA ASM. Okay, but these two roles will have the same privileges. What is the difference between ORA prefix role code and ASM prefix role code? That will understand in the role customization session. There only we can test and we can understand. Even if you discuss simple point here, that is not enough. Now simple point what we have to understand is the same role name, we have a two definitions where role codes are different. What is the difference between these two? As of now, you can take no difference. Whatever the privileges this role has, the same privileges you can find in these two roles. In the two roles, you can have the same privileges. But we are discussing about application implementation consultant, but not application implementation administrator. What role we require? Application implementation consultant. So along with the application implementation consultant, you can see application implementation administrator, application implementation manager. These roles also you can see, but don't use those roles. Those roles will have a limited privileges. If you want to work as a consultant, you need full privileges. The full privileges you can find in the application implementation consultant role only. Okay. So here we have application implementation consultant, where codes are different, ASM, ORA. And we have one more role as application implementation consultant. Somebody copied these roles. Okay, which role they copied? In the role code you can see ASM. That means this role somebody copied. We have a separate session to understand how to copy the roles, how to modify the roles, how to create the new roles. But now you don't need to worry about it. Simple point is we have to assign application implementation consultant role. It may start with ASM or it may start with ORA. Doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference. Also, you can choose any one of the role. Okay, I'm choosing the first one, application implementation consultant. Select application implementation consultant role. The same role system is displaying here. Along with that, there is one more role called as copy role. The same role somebody copied, the system is displaying that we don't require. Don't touch copied roles when you are practicing. So somebody might have modified those roles. So use the role which Oracle is providing. So this role Oracle is providing in every instance. The roles which Oracle is providing as a part of instance, those roles we call as seeded roles. Okay, what are the roles Oracle is providing? We call as seeded roles. Seeded means Oracle provided roles. We can create our own roles also. Whatever we create, those we call as custom roles. This will understand more detail level in role customization session. We'll have a separate session, one session to talk about these roles more detail level. Okay. Now, simple point is whatever the roles Oracle is providing, those roles we call as seeded roles. These two roles are seeded only. Oracle only providing. So these two we call as seeded roles. Okay, now we are assigning application implementation consultant role to user. Just click on this role, the role will get selected. Click on add role membership. Add role membership is nothing but assign role to user. Click on add role membership. The background you can see application implementation consultant role is assigned. Now we have to assign one more role. The role is IT security manager. Let's assign IT security manager role to user. So IT security manager. The first one you can select. This role also starting with FND and ORA, doesn't matter. It is starting with which code, select with the role name only. Anyone you can select. Both are equal. Codes are different. That ignore it. Select IT security manager. So select IT security manager. Somebody copied the same and they written do not use. That means they need some changes. We have to use always which Oracle is providing. Okay, so select IT security manager, click on add role membership. Now click on done. Okay, we assign the roles and assignable, auto provisioning, etc. Those are the separate functions we will discuss. When you create employee user, then only those are applicable. We'll discuss those points. So for now, this is the point we have to understand how to create the user and how to assign the roles. If you want to remove any role, yes, you can delete from here. Delete. Okay, now save and close. This is how you can create the user and you can assign the roles to user. To work as implementation consultant, primarily you have to assign these two roles. Then you can start working on it and you can assign the additional roles. Which roles we have to assign, when we have to assign, we will come to know very soon. For now, this is the very first step which you have to complete when you get access to the instance. Now, any questions from anyone, please? Any questions, please?
Lakshman, I have a question for you. Lakshman,
Please.
Lakshman, like this wise, we are going to work on reality based on client and project, right?
Correct. So how to implement payables, how to implement receivables. We'll see all the functionalities, but when we are working for our client, whatever they require as per their business requirement, we have to implement. But you will be learning what we have.
And after the training, are we going to get the user guide, like how to create the users and adding the privileges and everything?
So I'll provide you
There's a user guide.
User guides you can find in the Google also, but I'll provide you the student guides where it will demonstrate how to do the setups, etc. But you no need to look for those. In our classes, we are going to discuss more detail level. When you look at the user guide, don't talk this much, whatever we are discussing.
Okay.
But anyway, I'll provide those, but no need to depend on those. You can depend on the classes as an additional resource. You can use that if you want. I'll share anyway documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
Thank you.
whatever the spreadsheet I am preparing in the class, the sheet also I'll be sharing with everyone. Okay, when you are creating, you see this. Okay, these two rows. And then you will get this.
Yeah, Lakshman, this is Anil Kumar.
One second. When I'm talking, please let me talk. Please don't mind. Okay. So this is what, like, I'll be sharing the video. I'll be sharing that the spreadsheet which we are using for our discussions. On the other side, as you mentioned, yes, I'll provide you the student guides. User guides you can get anywhere, but student guides you cannot get outside. So that I'll share with you. You can go through and you may take some reference or you can explore by going through those if required. That is the point. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, Lakshman, this is Anil Kumar. Yeah, what is the difference between the AI?
Don't mind. No introduction is required. Direct question, please.
Yeah, okay. What is the difference between ORA prefix and ASM prefix, Lakshman?
What I said, that is the difference. That point we'll discuss when we deal with the role customization session. Role customization session. Since you are asking the question, okay, let me explain you.
Sorry.
If the role is starting with ORA, that you cannot edit.
Okay.
Okay. If the role is starting with ORA, that you cannot edit. If the role is starting with ASM or FND, etc., those roles we can edit. But now, even if we discuss no use, we are not testing how to edit, etc. That is the reason I am not addressing now itself. Since you have question, this is answer. ORA roles you cannot edit. Other role codes, all you can edit. You will be able to edit. That is only the difference. But we'll see. Practical system at the time we'll discuss on that. For now, let's ignore it.
So Lakshman, since you talked about editing roles, so coming from EBS, is it same like in the responsibility removing
Creating the
certain
menus.
functions to restrict the access? Is that
Correct.
what you were saying?
It is equal to EBS menus. You can create.
Okay, menus and functions. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Exactly. See here, Oracle is providing the menus in EBS.
Right.
Oracle is providing the roles here. Again, within the menus we have submenus, functions, right? Here also within the role we have a duty roles, etc. Those we'll discuss very soon. In this stage, not required.
Okay, let's move on here. So since you mentioned, that's why I asked. And one more thing on the
we can discuss.
one more thing on the user. I wanted to ask one thing. Again, coming from EBS.
Yeah.
In EBS, we generally, at least from the forms, I'm not sure if the delete option is there.
No,
let's say in the future,
not there.
It's not there, right? So let's say in Fusion. Yeah, so that's why I'm asking this. Let's say in Fusion we have a user who has done some transactions, meaning some of the transactions he has created.
I already answered that question. That's a virtual deletion only. I mentioned if you have a transactions with that user, still you can delete, but that will become virtual deletion. Wherever that username is tagged at the time of transaction creation or setups creation, that name will remain this.
Okay. I don't know why they provide deletion, but that's okay.
So they are not very sure.
Virtual meaning, virtual meaning what? It's not going
virtual
from
in the sense it won't be available in the users list if you go and search from the security console.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Continue. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I have a question here regarding the users itself.
Yeah.
Lakshman, compared to the EBS, we are having the date range of the users. For example, I'm doing some project for 6 months, so I have created user for 6 months.
No. Here we don't have a date range. Here option is you can log.
Then how can we control this?
Yeah. Here no option we have.
Give access I'm creating a user for only 6 months. After 6 months, it will get automatically. It cannot perform any functionality. So that date range we don't have here.
Yeah. Generally, what we can do is in such kind of scenarios, generally you may use that password policy. How often the password need to be expired. That is one option. The other option is manually you have to go and do log that account. Same as EBS, we don't have a start date, end date, the time specific for user activation.
Yeah, the date range I'm talking about.
That we don't have. We don't have it. Yep. And one more point.
So
if you just compare with EBS, if you are from EBS background, in EBS, here what we are doing, we are assigning the roles to user. In EBS, we assign the responsibilities to the user, right?
Yeah.
So the responsibilities, once you assign, you cannot delete. You can, but here
disable it via date range.
You can delete. Yep.
But as you said, here role means menu. This is what you said, right?
They are menu, but here no responsibility concept. So that is the reason. Can you assign the menu to user in EBS? Not possible. With the help of responsibility.
Through responsibility only.
Here, responsibility concept we don't have. Menu can be assigned directly to the user. That is the difference. Yep. Right. Any other question, please? Yeah.
While assigning roles to the user, how can we identify that is a predefined role or manually custom role?
So, Oracle is providing the names. If you are aware of, then you can easily identify. Because I know application implementation consultant role, Oracle provide as a seeded. If I see the name application implementation consultant A or B or C, something else along with this, easily you can understand, oh, this is not a Oracle provided role. This is a custom role somebody created. That's it. You are aware of the
So
name.
with the same name, we can't create role.
You cannot create. It will become duplication system
Okay.
allow. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other?
Sys administrator and IT security manager both are same, right?
Here there is no system administrator. If you compare with EBS, yes, IT security manager equal to EBS system administrator. True.
Yeah. So, and moreover, how to create this menu in that application?
I'll show you.
We can custom.
Yeah, I'll show you that. That is we have a session on the customization, role customization. At the time, I'll show you. Here we don't call as menu. Here we call as role only. There is no menu.
Role on. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions? Please go on mute. Few guys are just unmuted and they left. As these, and we are getting different background noise. Request you, if you have a question, unmute and raise your question. Go on mute. If you have any cross question, yes, again you can follow the same process. When you don't have questions, please don't unmute. Raghavendra, can you go on mute, please?
Yeah, I turned on mute only.
I can hear you. I could see that. That's the reason I'm requesting. Please don't mind. Still, you are not muted. I'm doing that. Okay, great. Thanks. Fine. Okay, only the objective is just to avoid the noise in the session. That is only the request. Otherwise, we can go how we want. Yeah. Any other questions here, please? Okay, this is all about user creation. Just click on done. We'll just log into the instance with our own user called ERP tree, and we'll verify this user got access to security console as well as FSM. What is the purpose of these two roles? Application implementation consultant role should give the access to FSM so that we'll be able to do the setups. IT security manager role should give the access to security console to create the users and to assign the roles. Now we created a user called as ERP tree. We assigned these two roles. Whether this user got access to these areas of access or not, we'll verify. Okay, sign out from the current user. Okay, just sign out. Now log in as a ERP tree user. Just now we created. Okay. Now first we'll verify this user got access to FSM or not. This user got ERP tree user got access to FSM to perform the setups or not, we'll verify because of this application implementation consultant role. How to verify whether this user got access to FSM or not? We'll see that. So you have to click on the username. Once you click on the username, it will open on panel. Within the panel, if you see the task called as, everything we call as a task. You see the task called as setup and maintenance. Okay, you have to understand, yes, this user got access to FSM. Just click on setup and maintenance. This will take us to FSM page. Okay, from this page you can do the setups. Say you want to do the finance implementation. Here, setup, you can select financials. You can do like payables implementation. You can select the payables. And here you select all tasks. So these are the setups. If you want to implement the payables, you have to do this setup. Okay, if you want to implement the receivables application, select receivables. Here say show all tasks. These are the receivable related setups. If you want to implement fixed assets, assets application, select assets. Let's say show all tasks. So these are the receivable related setups which you have to perform. So this is the place from where we can do the setups. Not only this, we have other two more places. Totally 3 options we have to do the setups. We'll discuss very soon those points also. For now, this is the point we have to understand. Okay. If you want to do any setups in the instance as a part of implementation, from FSM page we can do which application related setups you want to do, that you have to select. Then it will display the relevant setups and you can perform the setups. So based on these points, whatever we are able to see here, we can understand the user called as ERP tree got access to FSM. That's what we discussed. If you assign application implementation consultant role to ERP tree, that user will get access to FSM so that that user can perform the setups. Now we'll verify this user got access to security console or not. How user can get access to security console? If you assign IT security manager role to user, the user can get access to security console. We'll go and see that. So how to check? Click on navigator icon. Under tools, you could see security console. That means this ERP tree user got access to security console. How? We assigned IT security manager role to this ERP tree. That is the reason the user is able to access to security console. Just click on security console. We'll verify ERP tree user is able to create another user or not. Go to users. Click on add user account. Yes, this user is able to create. Say I'll give the name as user1. User1. Just provide password. Yes, from ERP tree, we are able to create the users. We got access to, okay, this user, and we are able to create the users. One user, say user1 we given. If you want to assign any roles to this user, yes, we can assign. Click on edit. Click on add role, you can assign. Now just let's log into the instance with this user, user1. Notice one point, we didn't assign any roles to this user. No roles are assigned, just user we created. User1, provide password. Click on navigator, nothing, no access. And click on username, the panel, nothing you could see as a setup and main. Reason, this user is just user without any privileges. By default, every user will get access to certain privileges. These are just here, certain tasks, social, my CV, HR consulting, social, getting started, etc., etc. With this user cannot do anything. Okay, just the basic privileges won't allow this user to do anything. So this is how just you can find out the user creation. Okay. So any questions from anyone on these points, please?
Lakshman, so when we assign this application implementation consultant role, so when we can see all the applications from this role. So
full access.
Can't we restrict? Yeah, so there is no option to restrict any of the roles. Like if a person is just working for payables, he is doing just payable setup. So can't we restrict that?
Payable setup, yes, we have few other roles also, which allows you to do the specific application setups also. You can assign those roles. Yes, we have other roles. But when you are working as a consultant, generally for consultants, no restrictions required. For end users only, will set the restrictions. As a part of implementation, we'll give the access to full system for every consultant. Consultant wise, we don't restrict. Still, if you want to restrict, you can use the payable specific setup related roles. We have many roles.
Okay.
But generally, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Every consultant work for one application or multiple applications, or it may be finance or SCM or HCM, PPM, anything. We just simply assign application implementation consultant role. The reason consultants know very well they have to work for which application implementation, what activity they have to do, which they should not do. If end users means if you give unnecessary access, they may do mistakes. Okay. For can give full access, always will give full access. Otherwise, always they have to depend on someone else. That should not be the case.
Yeah, right.
We'll give full access.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other questions, please? Right. No questions. So what we'll do is, for today we can wind up. Okay, tomorrow session we'll talk about FSM and we'll see how to create implementation project, etc. Okay, we'll just create implementation project. We'll get to know what need to be followed as the next step and all. So we're done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back or else you can drop from the meeting. Okay, we are not going to discuss anything until unless we have some questions. In tomorrow's session, we'll focus on FSM and we'll discuss. We have to understand many points related to FSM, the offerings and options, implementation project, assignments, and status. Many things we have to discuss, and geographies. We'll discuss all those points and we'll see the system also. So that's how we'll plan. We'll try to complete this user creation part today from your end. You have a possibility if you have instance access, or else you can keep in touch with the team. If you're not interested in instance access, you can talk to them and get instance access and start working on instance, so that tomorrow when we start working on FSM, it would be easy. And whatever we complete in the one session, try to complete the same from your end on the same day. That will help you a lot to understand anything we are going to discuss further. Yep. So we're done for today. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night. Any questions, please stay back and we can discuss.
Yes, I have one question, Mr. Lakshman.
Please.
Suppose if a user have assigned the role of application implementation consultant, can he create a user? I mean, just a simple question. Can he create a user? No.
Can you create user what?
When? So I have created a user. I have given the responsibility of role AIC application thing. So this user, can he create a user, another user?
You tell me this user. This is
yes or no?
Setups, right?
Yeah.
This is for user creation. Can you create or not?
Yeah, of course. That's why my question. I know from IT security manager, I can create user, I can create roles, and I can assign, I can play with them. I can manage all.
What do you think?
No, I'm not aware of the application implementation consultant.
We are discussing here very clearly, right? So if you want to create the user security manager required.
No, for testing purpose.
No, you cannot create. You cannot create. Okay. Application implementation consultant only to do the setups, not to create the users. If you want to create the users, you need additional role. If you can create users also from application implementation consultant, you no need to assign this, right? Yep, this is enough. First one is enough.
For the consultant, as a consultant for any company, if I'm going for implementation, usually most of the consultant, they create their users and they create their own responsibilities. After that, they will dump into the real system.
Correct.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So that's what. If you want to do that, this is what you require. These two you require.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hello. So these are just two roles, right?
Roles,
IT security manager and application integration consultant, right?
Yeah, implementation. Just roles, which will give the access to certain system access.
System access to certain screens for doing either the application configuration or managing the users, right?
Exactly. For anything, yes, correct.
Okay, and both of these are like seeded ones, right?
Seeded.
IT security seeded.
These roles, you cannot do any transactions. You cannot record any transaction. To create the transactions, have a separate roles.
Okay, and maybe one more thing. Maybe I'm asking, a little bit further.
Now you can ask any sort of questions because we are in the end of this. We discussed already. We done.
Okay.
Now
if you have that, application open, the instance open, can you go there?
Yeah, tell me, what is your question?
My question is like, when you log in, with ERP tree user, or let's say once we get the login for FS student and then we create our own individual logins, when that happens, we see too much of, icons and information.
Yeah, you'll come
after
to know
login.
Slowly you'll come one by one.
Okay,
right.
Then it's okay. If I'm asking in the future, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah,
I don't have any question.
Slowly, because we will be working. You have to touch each and everything, right?
Okay.
We'll come to know.
And one more thing, coming from EBS, like you, once you look at a responsibility, let's say I'm looking at accounts receivable, some responsibility, right? Super user account receivable. So
Yeah.
within that, I have all those menus, which are nothing but forms that open up, right?
Yeah.
So by and large, most of the consultants or people who work in EBS know what function represents what form. And if we want to restrict access, we remove that or create a menu or whatever customization, right?
Yeah, same you can do
So
roles here.
But right. So I'm asking is like similarly, like is it how is it easier to find out what function within the role
Very
represents
easy.
what input form? Is
Here,
it
very easy.
same?
Compared to EBS, very easy. Here you can export everything into spreadsheet also. You can analyze those, which you cannot.
Okay. Okay, we'll come to that when we talk about more about
Correct,
roles.
correct.
When you
We
said
have one
right.
session on
Okay.
complete session on the roles. We'll see
Okay.
how to compare two roles, how to copy the roles, how to edit the roles, how to simulate the roles, how to customize the roles. Everything we are going to discuss in one session.
And one more thing, like in EBS, when I'm in a form, more or less I can find out,
Table and all.
to what database table it is hitting when we store the data, right?
Here not possible.
Similarly,
No.
here not possible, right?
Not possible here.
Okay. Then how do you run queries unless you know the object names?
We should know, we should aware, because it's not finding from the table. Oracle is providing the OER, Oracle Enterprise Repository. If you go to that page, there you can find the each and every application. They are giving the list of tables, which table stores which information they are giving. There you can go and refer.
Oh.
Not aware of.
Okay.
And that
So
also
that's
will
another
cover
learning
process. Everything.
So that's a learning process, right? Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay, thanks for
everything we are going to cover what you need and what you should understand for sure.
Lakshman, I have one question. I mean, whether for giving this user, I mean, assigning this user, Oracle is going to charge something like this is also one user. So for this, Oracle is going to charge?
No. Oracle won't charge. See, ideally, when you start with this implementation, we'll start with the test instance and the production instance. So whatever the user Oracle will provide, they don't charge it. Later, anyway, with that, we are not going to record the business transactions, right? Only employee users only they charge. Implementation purpose, if you use one or two users, okay, that they don't count. Only business users. Business users logins only will be considered.
No, but when you're doing the implementation, you'll have to buy the license. Then they'll cut out the cloud instance for you, right?
Correct. But when you are buying a license or subscription, you have to take this subscription for the number of users, right?
Right.
You are going to work on the instance.
Right.
But when you do the implementation, that is a one time. Okay. So that's what we create in the test instance or production instance, the one or two users, they don't count because those are not to record the business transaction, that to manage the applications implementation.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, they don't count that. Yeah, please.
So we are done for the
how
day?
many?
Yeah, we done already. That's what I informed. I informed 2 minutes. We done for today. If you
How
have
many?
you can stay back. Yeah.
How many number of years experience do employers prefer to work as a fusion consultant, like fusion financial consultant in the market?
I mean, there are companies who are ready to hire with 1 or 2 years of experience also, but most of the openings you can see in the market with the minimum 4 years. Many companies prefer to hire the people with 4 years.
Okay.
They have openings with, 1 to 2 years also, 1, 2, 3 also. Yes, there are openings in the market, but less compared to 4 years.
For minimum 4 years.
Yeah, 4 or 4 plus.
Okay. So basically, I have like MBA, master's in MBA, and I'm currently working in a healthcare as a BA, but I want to move it to Oracle. So that's why I'm taking this training. So what is your suggestion? Like after this training, I'm able to, I mean, whatever the concepts you're explaining, I'm getting it because we use the .NET application and we create a user and assign the roles, and I'm getting that. So
No.
after doing this,
Your profile doesn't matter, frankly speaking. Be very serious about what you are learning. Okay, what we are learning, theoretically get ready. Tomorrow, if somebody is going to ask you, how to create the user in the Fusion application. You should be able to explain. We have to log in, we have to go to navigator, we have to select security console, we have to select the user, we have to click on create user account, we have to provide the username, and we have to set the password. What are the roles need to be assigned to the user? We have to assign, then save and close. And you can delete the user, you can log the user, and you can reset the password. This is how you can manage the user. If you speak like that, enough. When you attend, understand all this, but you should be able to speak. Not only doing what you are understanding, also should be able to talk about it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I ask you the question, which roles we have to assign to the user to start working as implementation consultant? If you know that is not enough, you should be able to say application implementation consultant, IT security manager. The cross question would be why you have to assign IT security manager. Because IT security manager will give the access to security console. Through security console only we can create the users and we can assign the roles. Why can't we use application implementation consultant to create the users and to assign the roles? Application implementation consultant role doesn't have privileges to create the users and assign the roles to the users. It has only access to do the setups. This is how you have to just explain. What does it mean by FSM, a functional setup manager? What you can do within the functional setup manager? We are going to discuss in the next session. So discussing, you have to ready to present. When you are presenting also, they'll see your confidence levels. When you spend more time, your confidence levels will go up, right? So you will have more confidence to speak about it. And in the same way, you have to practice well. Do practice multiple times based on your time availability. Try to spend more time for practice. Theoretically, what we are discussing, just not attending the classes. Anyway, I'm writing few things in the spreadsheet, and recorded session also you'll get. Apart on top of it, make your own note, the running note. Try to write the points when I'm explaining something. Try to take the points. That will help you a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, that how much time you are going to spend, that will help you to get the better results. Really, try to spend. It's easy to learn, understand, and to execute, and to crack the interview. That's it.
Okay.
Anyway,
Actually, one of my friends.
Lakshman, can we have a list of?
Yeah, Hari, please go ahead.
Lakshman?
Yeah.
Can we have list of topics from each module?
Yes, I already given in the course curriculum. You can get the course curriculum from the team. Everything I written more detail level, from which application, what concepts we are going to cover, each and everything I have in the course curriculum. Get from the team.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Actually, one of my friend attended previous batch, and he was from non-IT background.
Okay.
And after the course completed, he got job in for finance function on this technology.
Good to hear.
With the 15 lakh tax.
What? Very good. Very good.
So he suggested.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Before that course, he don't have any knowledge in IT.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I was telling. So it doesn't matter. Okay, if you have a bachelor degree, if you can speak in English, basic English, when you speak English like me only, right? So then you'll be able to understand this course and you can take the advantage from this course. That's it.
Yeah, your English is good, Lakshman, but your
yeah, but still basic only. Okay, but
yeah.
more than that,
yeah, Lakshman,
I have to learn, so I'm continuing with that. That's it. Yeah,
Lakshman, one doubt. So this application implementation consultant user, we can create more than one or only one?
N number of users. N number of users. You can create a number of users. Which user required access to this FSM and the security console? The relevant roles you can assign.
Okay.
There is no limit. How you require, you can proceed accordingly. Yeah.
Lakshman, so when we assign this application implementation consultant role, so in this only the applications which we subscribe for, so only those applications are available, right?
No. By default, Oracle will give the access to all the applications. Before you go and use the application, there is a one point which you have to consider. We have to enable them to use. Oracle will give the access to everything. You subscribed only financials. You have to enable financials so that you will be able to implement finance on. You might be having in the instance SCM, but if you have access to application implementation consultant, you can access SCM also. You can access, you can enable, then you can use. Application implementation consultant will give the full access to entire instance, complete access. What to do, what not to do, you have to decide based on the reality. What client subscribed, what you have to implement. That's all. You'll get full access.
So like if we don't subscribe,
even if you don't subscribe, you'll get access. That's it. That's how Oracle is provisioning.
so there is no harm. I mean, suppose if we even if we use it, if we, like after not subscribing, but there is no harm to use, right?
Yes, exactly. But which we not subscribe ideally. Even Oracle also will be monitoring those points. We never use that.
Yeah.
We may see.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Lakshman sir,
Please.
actually, when we'll get instance access, basically?
So instance access, the guy who subscribed already shared the instance. The second one you can use. Second one you can use, Anil. You might have received 2 instances, right? Try second one, it is working.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I got it, Lakshman.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other?
Lakshman, I have a question on the testing instances around that.
Please.
So let's say we're in implementation, or let's say we're in support for Fusion, right? So we want to spin off one more instance for testing some functionality in payables, right? Per se. So how do we do that? Like we approach Oracle to create a total new complete clone of the existing system?
No. What happens is by default for every client Oracle will provide 2 instances. One for testing, one for reality, where business users will record their day-to-day business transactions. That we call as production. Okay. So 2 instances they'll provide by default. If at all you require one more, you have to pay extra, you can get. That's how it goes.
Okay. Again, instance, so one production, one test we got by default, but any additional we'll have to pay.
Yeah, exactly. The production you may clone to test how you require according.
Like an on-demand clone.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Fine. Any other questions, please? Okay, seems no questions. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Hello?
Yeah, Anil Kumar, please.
Sir, no, sir, this is Balchandra.
Okay, I could see the name. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, in IT security manager,
yeah,
we can create only, in IT security manager only we can create users.
Yeah, only that is only the option.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
and we have another option called as employee users. Employee users can be created from different places. Now you cannot create. Okay, we have to complete few setups, then only system will allow, and we'll discuss. For now, the implementation user, what you have to create, that you can create only from IT Security Manager in the fresh instance when you start with the implementation. The same we are discussing.
So we can give the configuration in the application implementation consultant.
Your voice is not clear. Can you be a bit loud if possible?
In the IT security manager, we are creating user and giving the access application implementation consultant.
We are assigning the roles. It can be anything. We are creating the IT security. You can users. What are the roles?
Okay. He can't access everything.
We can't. What is your question?
I'm asking that the application implementation consultant only can access everything.
Can access to everything which is related to setups. The application implementation consultant cannot have access to security console. Only IT security manager can have access to security console. If you have access to IT security manager, you can do this only. You cannot do the setups. If you have access to application implementation consultant, you can do the setups, but you cannot do this. That's it. Yep. Every role got certain purpose. Okay, it will have access to certain privileges. Okay, that's all for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. We can discuss. If no questions, we can wind up for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time. We'll focus on FSM. We'll discuss about what is the purpose, points we have to understand, how to create implementation project, etc. Yep.
Okay, thanks. It was a nice session.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for attending. Any questions from
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
so
Lakshman.
much. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Lakshman.
Yeah, thank you. See you tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be available for 5 more minutes in the same meeting. Okay, if you have any questions, you can raise.
Sir, I had a question regarding virtual server, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
We are connecting
Anil,
from
your
which
voice
server
is
to
not
virtual
clear.
server?
We cannot run the questions and answers with that. There is some audio issue from your end, I guess. It's not audible or not clear. Volume is just, it's not much audible. Again, same time, it's not clear also what you're asking. Please check the connectivity, the audio connectivity, so that it would be easy for both of us.
Sir, is that an example? A client had branches in every country. Hello?
Client not.
It is
Client not.
audible, sir?
Yeah, same case, same. There is no big change in that. No issues. Proceed with your question.
How many virtual servers can be provided for a client?
That they don't tell us. They don't tell us. That is their internal matters. Okay. But they'll make sure that our experience would be good. At that point, they don't commit anything. How cloud computing virtual servers concept will work, that we discussed. That's it. Okay. Sometimes they may not connect to your close nearest data centers. If they sometimes where you are doing the business, they may not have data centers. In that case, in the nearest country, whatever the data center you have, to that only that your user request will be submitted. That's how it works.
Yes.
Fine. Okay, then that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow, same time. Thank you all.